Hey, hey, hey! Welcome back to the Money Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Nadine Zamot. I am a holistic money coach and a somatic practitioner, and I'm so excited to welcome you back and continue on with our theme for April 2024. So, in case you missed it, our theme this month is healing through joy. And the first episode, I gave you my step-by-step process that I've been implementing over the past few months that I've seen massive changes in my mindset, in my attitude, in my sleeping patterns and everything. So make sure you check that out if you haven't already. And today we are going to just continue on the theme, healing our money wounds through joy. And in today's episode, we are going to talk about something that is small yet quite mighty that you can all have access to every single day that can help you heal. And this small yet mighty thing is glimmers. And if you don't know what glimmers are, not to worry, I am here to tell you. So the thing is, I am really passionate about defining things so that I make sure that we're all on the same page. And I know that maybe I haven't covered what money wounds are lately in the podcast. I know I covered them a lot in previous episodes, but maybe you're new here. So I would like to take a little detour and talk about what money wounds are, what they look like, and why they happen. So, the definition of money wounds is this particular definition. There are many definitions. Obviously, it's something that I have specialized in, and I can just sit down and write a book about the many definitions of money wounds. But this very simple definition was adapted from the trauma of money method, which is one of my certifications. I am a certified practitioner of the trauma of money method, and this definition was kind of adapted from that. And it says that money wounds are any physical, sexual, emotional, generational, societal, and relational wounds that we experienced in the past that is impacting our relationship with our self worth and in turn impacts our relationship with money. I often see that money wounds can manifest from past experiences that have nothing to do with money. And of course, they can manifest from wounding that happened to us, especially in childhood, especially when our nervous system and our brain is still developing. And, when we are that young, we can internalize things that are maybe neutral, or maybe they were negative, but maybe these are like the foundations of our beliefs, right? So maybe we've had a difficult childhood with things that have to do with money. Maybe we had a childhood of poverty or scarcity or bankruptcy, or maybe we come from, like, I have a couple of clients that came from a lot of abundance and they grew up feeling really guilty when they saw how they lived and how other people lived. So that has been internalized as a money wound. And like I said, sometimes what we internalize as a money wound or a belief about money can come from something that has nothing to do with money, but is a relational wound or a wounding that somehow impacted our sense of self worth. And the modern definition of trauma, as set by our modern day heroes, Dr. Gabor Mate, Dr. Richard Schwartz, and Dr. Peter Levine, etc., it emphasizes that trauma is less about the event itself and more about how our nervous system responded to these events at the time. And also, that trauma is not just what happened to us, but what didn't happen to us in childhood. It's about the emotional support and the unconditional love that perhaps we didn't receive when we are children. So, money wounds can manifest in so many ways. And the most common ones that I see in my practice with my clients is overspending. And oftentimes people spend as a way perhaps to cope with stress or to cope with unresolved past trauma or difficult emotions. And the inability to save money even when they've increased their income, or perhaps they've paid off their debt and suddenly they're back in debt, or they're in this cycle of like, I pay off debt, I'm back in debt, I'm paying off debt, I'm back in debt. I don't know why. That is a symptom of a money wound. Another symptom is a scarcity mindset, having that constant fear and anxiety about finances and running out of money even when our actual real life situation is stable. Another symptom can be under earning, as well as avoiding financial matters and any other way that perhaps we self sabotage when it comes to money. My personal money wound used to manifest as the fear of spending money and as what I call money hoarding. So I used to hold on to money, and I would only I would only spend on absolute necessities, and I had a really good income at the time, so it was really a symptom of my money wound. Okay. So just just to continue on the money wounds theme, I just want to let you know that this podcast and all my programs are a great resource to help you if you identify as someone who has money wounds. Okay, so you can go back to any old episodes on this podcast. Every episode is pretty much designed to be a masterclass, and if you want to go deeper, you are more than welcome to apply to join my program, Create Fulfilling Abundance, or CFA. So now that we've established what money wounds are, I want us to move on to the topic of this episode, which is glimmers. So what are glimmers? Um, a really cool way of defining what something is perhaps defining what the opposite of it is. So the opposite of glimmers is triggers. Triggers are the things that trigger your nervous system into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And oftentimes, triggers may elicit a disproportionate reaction to the situation on hand. So, if you and me are walking down the street and I come across a roach, I am going to scream, I am going to run, and I'm going to do all kinds of things that might seem very dramatic if you didn't know me and if you didn't know my history and my trauma. It will feel like this girl is crazy. Why is she yelling? The roach is dead. It's not going to bite her. It's not going to hit her. It's gonna not going to beat her up. It's way smaller than her, but that is a trigger for me. Okay. Here is an example that has to do with money. That is a trigger. So, say you look at your bank account and you have $10 and you receive a surprise bill for $100 and you go into panic mode. That is not a trigger. That is reality. But when is it a trigger? So if you have a reasonable savings, reasonable emergency fund, reasonable savings, and you get a surprise bill for $100, or even if it's not a surprise bill, even if it's just a normal bill, but just the mere fact that you received a bill activates your nervous system into a panic, fight or flight, frustration, anger, depression, despair. So here's the thing is, like, logically you are able to pay for it, but that bill is sending you on a downward spiral, then that is a trigger. That is when we say that you have a money wound. Okay. So a glimmer is the opposite of a trigger. If a trigger is something that puts your nervous system into fight or flight, then a glimmer is what puts your nervous system at ease. So, glimmers are these small things or small moments that make you feel like all is right with the world. These like micro moments that make you feel connected, make you feel that there's hope, fill you up with joy, abundance, and connection. And I don't know if you watched The Sound of Music when you were a kid or maybe recently, but there's a song in The Sound of Music it's called My Favorite Things. And it talks about like when the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling bad, I simply remember my favorite things. And she talks about like, she lists beautiful things that make her happy. And yes, I know every every lyric, every song to The Sound of Music because I love it so much. So she talks about the things that make her not happy, and then she talks about uh, girls and ribbons and white sashes and lashes and so like little things that make her feel like hopeful. So these are the glimmers. Okay, what are some of my glimmers? We have neighbors up the road from us that have a sign on their front porch that says, "Presidents are temporary, Wu Tang is forever." That is a glimmer. I walk to that sign every day, that because it just fills me with so much joy. So that Wu Tang sign for me, for example, is a glimmer. The smell of cut grass is a glimmer. Hearing birds chirping is a glimmer. When I'm walking and a butterfly lands on me, that's a glimmer. When I find a colorful feather, that feels like a glimmer to me. So glimmers are very personal. Okay. When I look at the light and it's striking the pavement or the water on a certain angle and it's like all sparkly, that fills me up with hope. A lot of my clients love seeing angel numbers, whether it's the time 1111, 1212, or it's a license plate. That fills them up with a sense of hope and like connection. It's like a nod from the spirit guides, a nod from the universe, like, I got you. Okay, so it's like this, anything that makes you feel this intense or internal, it doesn't have to be intense, it's this internal sense of joy, right? Like if you look around you now, allow your eyes to scan your surroundings. Maybe you're in your car, like what makes you feel joyful on the inside? Maybe it's, I don't know, the smell of your car. Maybe it's that you have a car. Maybe it's you're looking outside and there's like the sky is blue, or maybe somebody let you in or smiled at you when you're at a traffic light. These things are all considered glimmers for me. When a neighbor or someone I don't know in the street just smiles at me and says good morning, that, yeah, it really fills me up with a sense of joy and hope for humanity. So glimmers don't heal trauma directly, but they can help you shift the state of your nervous system from fight or flight into a state of calm and peace. So when we accumulate lots and lots and lots of glimmers, that can create a state shift. If you are having a bad day, if you're like really rushing and really like, oh my God, and then your dog comes up to you and puts his paw on your lap or her paw on your lap or whatever, that's like, that just freezes that moment in time. And you're like, okay. And then, you get a text from your friend that says, "Oh, I love you. Thank you so much for last night. It was really nice to talk to you." That's another glimmer. And then you open the fridge and then you remember that, there's a piece of cake in there. That's another glimmer. So all these like little glimmers can shift your state from like frustration to like, okay, I can be okay. I think the world is fine. Glimmers can also help us anchor back into our bodies when we're feeling rushed or dissociated from the world, or when we're feeling really depressed, for example. When we're feeling like we're out of touch with our body or out of touch with our surroundings, they make us feel connected with the world. They're like a portal to life as opposed to a portal to despair. When I'm in my spiral, like when my trauma spiral, I feel very disconnected from the world. And trauma is actually disconnection. The opposite of trauma is connection. So when we anchor into these glimmers, when we allow ourselves to experience them with our five senses, when we sense a glimmer, we're like, yeah, cool, all right, cut grass. But when we take a moment to stop and anchor into that moment using our five senses, we smell it. We register what we're seeing around us. We register how the air feels on our skin. That is when we start creating more safety in our nervous system. That is when we're actually expanding our nervous system's capacity to receive. Do you want to receive more abundance? I bet you do. These little things, these micro moments, when we allow ourselves to experience them and anchor into them, we're actually expanding our nervous system's capacity to receive abundance. Because guess what? Glimmers are micro moments of abundance. Okay? So if I'm having a bad day, and a glimmer can always ground me back into the present moment and bring me back to a state of calm where I'm making aligned decisions. So not only are they expanding the capacity of your nervous system to receive, but also they are helping you be in a state more of like calm and peace, so that you actually make aligned decisions, whether it's aligned decisions with money or otherwise. Okay. So when we're activated, when we are dysregulated, when we're like in fight or flight, when we're frustrated, we might make misaligned money decisions. We might overspend. We might like skimp and choose something that is cheaper, even though it's not the right thing for us to choose. I'm going to have a sip of water. Thank you. Anyway, so when we start noticing these glimmers, when we start receiving them, we are expanding our nervous system's capacity to receive, and we're also making sure that we are more or less, regulated, right? So to heal, okay, to experience healing, we need two things. We can't have one without the other. We need to, yes, resolve cues of danger. So in the previous episode, I talked about how healing through joy is not emotional bypassing when it's layered on a solid foundation of getting to the root cause of our trauma and releasing our trauma through different modalities. The modalities that I use is somatic release, nervous system healing, inner child healing. I use archetypes and all that stuff. So all these little tools that we use to heal trauma, but we have to confront or look at the pain and look at the root of that trauma. So when we're doing that, we're actually going at it from the root. But then when we continue healing through joy, that when we have that foundation, we are making sure that we're not bypassing, okay? Because if we're only like, oh my God, joy, and we're not looking at the root cause of our trauma, we really risk bypassing, which basically means that the healing work doesn't stick. Okay, it's just temporary. It's like this feel good work that is temporary. Okay, so we need two elements to create a healing experience, a robust, holistic healing experience. We need to resolve danger, meaning get to the root cause and heal the trauma. And also, we need to cultivate cues of safety, okay? Which means we need to start cultivating the abundance and the good things that we actually want to feel. Why do we want to heal? To feel good things. So we need to add good things and remove negative things. We need to do both, okay? That is why paying attention to glimmers is very, very important if you are on a healing journey. So here is your little assignment for today's episode. I would love to invite you to notice 5 glimmers every day. Maybe start doing it now. Scan your surroundings. Allow your eyes to just scan your surroundings in a very, neutral way. And then very slowly notice what brings joy inside of your body. Okay. So I'm not asking you to look at the things that you like. I'm asking you to scan your surroundings and notice what inside your body is telling you that you feel abundant, joyful, connected, happy, and allow your nervous system to tell you what it considers as a glimmer. So this is an inside out approach. Okay. So scan your surroundings every day and notice how your nervous system or how your body feels joyful when you look at certain things, and write them down. Okay. One of the, what's it called? Like exercises that we do in CFA is we create a glimmers and triggers map. And it's a fun little exercise. So if you want to join CFA, or if you're already in CFA, that is something that we're going to do together. So that brings us to the end of this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you got a lot of value from it. And let me know if you feel like it. Write me a review on Apple Podcasts or give us 5 stars on Spotify. It really, really helps. And I will see you next episode. And remember, if you're interested in joining any of the programs, all the links are in the show notes. I'll see you next week. Stay safe. Bye for now.